And when we see hurricanes and earthquakes and things like that, hey, no one can ever keep you perfectly safe. And when government acts like it's their job and that they're there to, quote, keep you safe, even though they take your freedom, that's a lie. Government is there to protect your freedom, not your life. And government has no responsibility historically and cannot protect you. That's why we have a Second Amendment. They've gotten rid of the right to keep and bear arms in almost every country in the world, except for Switzerland and the United States. Very limited rights in places like Australia. We need to reverse that. Just throwing that in. That I mean, I hear talk radio and see Fox News and CNN and, oh my gosh, ISIS is so scary. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared they're going to get us. And I was watching a Vice report online of the Al-Qaeda leaders. That's what it is. They're Al-Qaeda. They have Al-Qaeda flags. They say they're Al-Qaeda. They're like, I will kill all of the Americans. No one can stop me. I am invincible. We took over Rome and sacked Rome in 410. And the Visigoths, led by Alaric in 410, sacked Rome. Islam didn't exist in 410. I mean, these people are just literally whacked out nutballs. But who else do you think responds to this propaganda to go join a radical force who's protected and given weapons by NATO, and then later NATO will go and kill them, letting the main force escape always? So again, it's not like they're like, hey, we're friends playing cards together. No, our troops will die fighting them, and they will die fighting them, and they're running around chopping heads off and the rest of it. I mean, it's just amazing. Saudi Arabia publicly is funding them while being on the news today saying they're having a summit on how to end the crisis. Again, if you don't know what a Shiite and a Sunni is, you better learn. Or don't watch mainstream news and let them lie to you. God bless him, George W. Bush, a year before he left office, was in a press conference with Mohammed Karzai at the Rose Garden. And he said, Iran runs al-Qaeda, and we've been fighting them in Afghanistan. Isn't that right, Mohammed Karzai? And Karzai said, Your Excellency, I apologize. We played the clip here, but Iran is Shiite. Al-Qaeda is Sunni-based, and Iran is actually helping us fight the Sunni. And Bush said, no, it is you that is incorrect. You can find that clip. I mean, Bush knew what was going on. It's part of manipulating the American people. And I'm not saying Iran's good either. Some people now send me emails, or I see them on the street, they go, yeah, Alex, I know the plan is to get the Arabs to all kill each other. So what? Oh, it's just Arabs? They're Muslims all over the world. The biggest Muslim countries are in Asia, Indonesia, places like that. And a lot of them are not that radical, folks, and we don't want to have a clash of civilizations. While the government imports as many as they can, but then is politically correct and says don't criticize even radical Islam, you get arrested for that in England. See, because they're just getting us all squared off like two chickens in a cockfight, two roosters to kill each other. I don't want to play the game. I understand the game. I understand the scam. It's very elementary. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and others, for hundreds of years, would finance both sides of a war. They would sell weapons to both sides. That's what the New World Order does. And all you good old boys that go, well, good, let them have the Arabs kill each other. You know, they won't come over here and get us. They're overthrowing countries that are working with the West, like Egypt, to give the jihadis a base to menace us so our freedoms can be taken. And by the way, remember, over 90% of Homeland Security funding and training, this has been in the news. Janet Napolitano and Jay Johnson, or whatever his name is, the new head of it, they have all come out and said the vast majority of preparation is for who? Veterans, returning veterans, gun owners, Christians, conservatives, constitutionalists, libertarians. Basically anybody that works hard and knows what America's all about and cares about basic freedom and the Second Amendment and private property and family. If you're a good person, the people taking over hate your guts because you're not going to like the new tyranny. They know you're the enemy they're going to be fighting because they're going to make it so bad. The Pentagon says this. They will fight the Tea Party. They will have a war. Not our average troops, but the people running our Pentagon. Pull it up. Do nothing but prepare to crush state legislatures, to arrest governors. Read the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, 2007. expanded by Obama in 2010. It talks about taking over legislatures when states are in insurrection, not just people. See, they've pushed and pushed and pushed. They're going to push until we can't be pushed any further. And they plan to have us so disarmed, so balkanized, so dumbed down, so fighting with each other, with the borders wide open, with the dollar worthless, with a nuke goes off in a major city blamed on ISIS. Might be next week, might be 3 years from now. We know their game plan, so they can go on the news as pose as saviors. We're going to fix it. We're going to take care of the race war. We're going to take care of the ISIS attack. We're going to arrest the black leaders. We're going to arrest the Tea Party leaders. We're going to go after the Mecha leaders and the Tea Party leaders. We're going to stabilize America. It's the National Stabilization Force. Just like the West has to invade Syria and Iraq right now because ISIS, Al-Qaeda in Iraq was its former name. It's running around murdering tens of thousands a month. It's killed 300+ thousand in Syria. And look at them sawing people's heads off. Why, we've just got to do something right now. Why, there's crack cocaine and heroin all over our streets being flown in on C-130s and landed at U.S. military bases. Came out in 1972 in Congress in the church hearings. In 1974 and 5, came out in 1997 in the CIA Inspector General report. I watched it on C-SPAN. How almost all the cocaine was shipped in by our government. And then jeepers creepers, you got a bunch of coked up nutballs running around. Your daughter's going to be a whore to pay for the cocaine or the smack. And why, we got checkpoints everywhere to stop them drugs and stop that Al-Qaeda and stop them illegals and stop everything else they brought in and they created. Little secret of criminology, it's actually well known. Do you know who the first people they look at in a big fire, a big arson, especially of a government building? You know who they look at first? They look at who called it in first. Because criminals like to then get the thrill of sitting there talking to the police and the firemen. And then secondarily, they look at the firemen. I use a politically incorrect term, just not to bash women, but just to show that I still have free speech. Firemen are the #2 suspect in any arson. You know who the #1 suspect was for blowing up the Capitol building to declare martial law in Germany? Oh, it was the Nazi Party, and they did it. That's declassified. Oh, how'd they start World War II with Poland? They blew up their own military bases, Operation Himmler. It's mainstream news. Might want to look it up. See, I'm telling you how the world works here. Game over if you just listen. Game over if you discover it. Game over for the globalists. But if you don't figure it out, they're going to take your pension funds. They're going to take your freedom. They're going to take your health. They're going to socially engineer you 7 ways to Sunday. I haven't even gotten into it yet, though. Here's the headlines. Now they're spinning it. Oh, we've got to intervene with Syria to take out Al-Qaeda. Was Putin right about Syria, saying Al-Qaeda's evil? U.S. strikes in Syria against Islamic State would be hindered by intelligence gaps. Oh, we need more troops there. That would fix it. Then, of course, they'll attack Assad and claim he was involved with them. U.S. set to launch airstrikes on senior ISIS leaders in Syria. Why? Why, the very same group they opened the door for in armed. Full spectrum dominance. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at Infowars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at Infowars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com, None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. I already mentioned this, but let me just go over the headlines themselves unless you doubt me. Last year, John Kerry, and we should tomorrow on the show dig up those clips. We could even probably do it today, of Kerry saying, we must attack Syria right now or Assad will nerve gas America. Remember that? It was like blaming Saddam for 9/11. You can say what you want about Saddam Hussein. It had nothing to do with it. It was Saudi Arabia that was where the people came from on record. It's Saudi Arabia behind ISIS and IS and Al-Qaeda right now, our big, precious, darling, sweet cake ally, who literally grease half of Congress and most of the state governors as well, and legislatures. And so they're running around all over Syria murdering people. They're the main force that started the Civil War almost 4 years ago. Our government gives them all these weapons. It becomes a big scandal because our own military and our own CIA, military is usually pretty moral because they're compartmentalized. The CIA and others, there was even balking there and the Joint Chiefs in openly joining with Al-Qaeda, openly turning Syria over. And the issue was the military knew they couldn't get away with it. We covered all that at the time last year. Rand Paul and others came out and talked about we shouldn't be Al-Qaeda's Air Force. So IS then went into Iraq and has taken about a third of the country. They've got a deal to split the country in 3 parts with Saudi Arabia, the Kurds, and, of course, Iran. But ISIS is going for broke. They're now double-crossing that deal. Saudi Arabia is double-crossing that deal. They're very mad that a deal's been made behind the scenes with Iran to de-escalate things. And Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, don't believe me, I'm not even a big critic of Israel. I'm not against Israel. I get criticized for not being anti-Israel. But it was in the Jerusalem Post. Netanyahu said ISIS might be good. A good thing for the Middle East. Yeah, destabilize, have all the Arabs kill each other. Notice ISIS doesn't say they're going to attack Israel. Of course, they will someday. This is so sick. This is so evil. Just like our country's working with Al-Qaeda. It's not the American people that are doing it. It's not the Israeli people that are doing it. It's the sick leadership we have. And the decision that was made above our government and above Israel's government, up there in the military-industrial complex and the big banking combine, that this destabilization is what they want to bring in their world government. Well, if you go back to last year, and they've got the quotes here in the Washington Post, everybody remembers that Putin said, you are turning Syria over to people that will chop off every... In fact, the headline was, Putin says, don't turn Syria over to people that are animals. Don't turn Syria over to Satanists who eat hearts. Type in Vladimir Putin, don't turn Syria over to people that are cannibals. That was the actual headline. But then he said all that in his speech. Putin, don't hand Syria over to monsters that are cannibals was the exact quote. And that'll give us the exact date. But here it is in the Washington Post. They don't give him that much credit, just my memory does. Was Putin right about Syria? And they go on to ask the question, oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. No, see, the establishment's scared now because they don't control the media anymore. They thought they did. They just ignore the real media. DrudgeReport.com, Infowars.com, WorldNet Daily, stuff like that. They ignore that. And so the whole world learned that our government's funding Al-Qaeda. The whole world learned about what was really going on and what was really happening. And so now the world knows our government's funding Al-Qaeda in Libya, in Jordan, in Egypt, and it's causing major, major, major problems for the establishment. So they're bombing a few artillery pieces and a few Toyota trucks with nobody in them. They're acting like they're fighting them. They're acting like they want to send troops there to go after them, and they'll go after some little faction group of it or whatever. But now ISIS is so out of control, they're not following orders, so maybe ISIS has to be dealt with. See, that's what's so wrong with this Machiavellian view. When everybody starts stabbing everybody in the back, when everybody starts cheating each other, then there's no stability even for corrupt elites. There's a reason smart elites that are even evil like to not double deal and like stability. It's because they want to survive. They want to be smart. They want to cut the cream off the top of a successful society. They don't want to be a third world imploded pit. But the globalists politically so want to dominate moral Western culture, and they want to extinguish it because chivalry and free market is such a threat to their monopoly fascist system that they want to extinct it forever and believe they'll then bring some golden age utopia in later. That's what the Rand Corporation, all of them say. That's not going to happen. You turn loose these forces that you are messing with, these titans, you will destroy the planet. You can't use some Rothschild model from the Napoleonic Wars, financing all three sides and then both sides when it went from 3 to 2. You will not get rich and powerful out of this. You will not control everything. To the Rothschilds, you've got some weird score to settle with the West because you don't feel like you were accepted 300 years ago and all this other craziness. You're going to blow the planet up, you lunatics. And I know you're probably not going to listen to me as globalist. The Queen of England, the Dutch royalty, all of you. Bunch of inbred nuts. But your minions and the military and the Joint Chiefs and Interpol. Interpol's head came out and said, arm the general public in Europe to stop radical Muslim attacks a few months ago. I'm seeing signs everywhere throughout the power structure that people don't want to ruin and wreck society and drive it off a cliff. Most people serving the system aren't even evil. They were compartmentalized and lazy and just want to get along. But now they realize the New World Order is not going to let them get along. The New World Order is going to bring in tyranny. So here's some of the headlines. And during the break, I'm going to pull up that headline because I really want it. Putin says that the al-Qaeda rebels are cannibals. So I want to give you the date when he said all that. But here is the Washington Post going over all of that, saying, was Putin right? And the U.S. set to launch airstrikes. See, they couldn't get airstrikes before with Congress to back al-Qaeda. So now they need airstrikes in Syria to stop al-Qaeda. And, of course, they'll probably bomb Assad forces. Last week they were saying Assad may be behind it. We need to bomb him and then let the good rebels take over, and then that will stop al-Qaeda. There it is. Why arm cannibal rebels in Syria? Putin asked. Sydney Morning Herald, June 17, 2013, almost a year ago. I was speaking about al-Qaeda being turned loose. Remember, we overthrew Libya. It was pro-West now, working with the world. Now al-Qaeda, Bloomberg reports, is taking over the airport and the main government, set to take over the parliament. It'll be full al-Qaeda. Everyone who's not a radical will have their head chopped off. And every major analyst admits, such a mistake to go into Libya. Oh, it was a horrible thing. The plan was to destabilize. The plan was to make it a failed state, as they're now saying it's becoming. And you know, we're not just here to bash the police on this show, because if we do that, it plays into the globalist mindset, and then it's an us against them situation, and then they just basically join the globalist. But I've seen cases, we're going to show this coming up, where you yell at a police dog, you get multiple years in jail. Well, Wyoming cop charged with animal cruelty, a $750 fine after death of canine dog left for 5 hours in the hot squad car. Nix the dog died. But it's always just a PR thing where some bad guy will kick a police dog, so they'll give him 10 years in prison. It's just meant to say cops are God, dogs are people, citizens are trash. Of course, cops aren't important to the system unless they're fronting for it. Look at this man charged with assault for yelling at police dog. Reason.com. So yell at him, you go to jail. 10 years in prison for a canine cop. Unless you're a cop, then it's $750. Again, that's the essence of the animal farm tyranny, is when people in government aren't held to the same standards. Different rules for different folks. Everybody knows the dice is loaded. Everybody knows the good guys lost. The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support, 100% organic coffee, infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats. But this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.